Hello my friends, as you may see we have some interesting news coming from the front lines with the Ukrainian counterattack and the Russian advancement as well, but at first I want to speak about the situation in the Middle East because so far it's the hottest topic which also influences Ukraine. So let's go to Iran-Israel conflict, or it's better to say war. Alright, every day we see those pictures coming again and again. Senior Iranian officers are being zeroed by Israeli precise strikes. For the last 24 hours, Iran lost at least 6 of the generals, and one of those was the commander of the air defense of Iran. Kind of the ironical case because he has been captured by missile, which he is responsible to shut down, organizing the air defense of Iran. So why Israel is so successful? Because it hits the air defense systems even on the way. So here's the truck which was kaboomed and it was carrying the air defense of Iran. This was the Sevom Hodrat air defense, Iranian made. Yeah, probably in cooperation with Russia and China. Yeah, here we have more images. It is not like CGI or AI generated images like Iran usually presents. Those are the real things. Mostly Israel uses aviation to strike that stuff. But before, at the very beginning of the operation, there were some of the sabotage groups deployed into Iranian territory, and they used even some of the drones to eliminate the abilities for Iran to protect its very important facilities like airports and nuclear sites. By the way, about nuclear facilities, we have the information coming from International Atomic Agency. All of those 15,000 small centrifuges are out of service forever because they require the constant electrical power supply. If they do not receive it, they just break down. And as you can see here, Iran hit the electrical supplement of the facility, so it was totally blacked out. Plus, there was the information that bombs actually reached the underground rooms of this very important complex. It basically means that there is the total failure of Iranian air defense. Yeah, we see those videos again and again. Israel even targets the old F-14 fighter jets which were delivered to Iran. Then there were good old times by the United States of America. Then Iran was actually the ally of the democratic world. Yeah, those Tomcats were just placed in Tehran. They were out of service, I guess, but Israel hits everything military. They see fighter jets, they hit them, and I guess this strike was in particular done to show that Israel is free to use aviation strikes all around Tehran. They also struck the main Ayatollah propaganda building out there, the television center in Tehran. It is completely no-go, so probably there will not be any more TV shows from the government. Yeah, hopefully one day it will be the same with Ostankino Tower in Moscow. And guys, it's the total legit target because propaganda brainwashes people, and in a way it's more dangerous than any sort of the weaponry. Because of the propaganda through the mass media, there were lots of the war crimes done before in human history, and it continued to be like that. Iranian regime, Putin, they're nothing without their propaganda TV. A short break here, but stay with me guys, I'm in my office already. It's fantastic to have my usual setting. As you know, there was the Father's Day yesterday. My congratulations to all of the fathers out there watching me. I'm a father myself, so I decided to go back to the family just after this day. I just felt lonely. And I have the dedicated integration to the Father's Day, so check it out. Guys, happy Father's Day, and on this day I have something really special from the partner of the channel. This is Extra Wallet. As usual, they send me something new each year, and this year I'm now in France in a local air club flying, so I'm gonna test this one not just on the ground but in the skies. Let's unbox it. Yeah, for this I have my Swiss knife. Sadly for the Father's Day I'll not be together with the family, but I'm going back very soon. I wonder what they sent me this time. Kind of encouraging to have those boxes. Oh, the new type of the wallet. It's an amber color, looks absolutely great, and here I can put even some of the cash, not just cards as you see, and I really like the mechanism. The other one is the black one. Honestly, as for me, I like black color more. I already have my Extra Wallet. I use it for already very long time. It's made out of metal, but here I cannot like put the cash, just some of the cards. Well, with the new wallet I can do it quite easily, as you may see. I wouldn't say it's much wider. The mechanism, as you can see, it's made out of metal, very reliable feature, and I have any complaints about this one, because here with my card holder I have basically the same. You know, I really like this new design they have, and I'm gonna take it on my flight. My friends, no matter what, but Extra Wallet is always with me. I enjoy their products a lot. They're versatile, they're kind of small for me to even take in the glider. Woohoo! Kind of nice. Can I drop it like this? And you know, guys, Extra has not just those models, but they have variety of the products on their website. Car holders, wallets, finding cars, keychains, lots of the stuff is out there. And guys, I have a discount proposal for my followers, up to 40% off with my personal link, which you may find in the video description below. And with my code Davydov, you may get additional 10% off. Don't forget to type this code at checkout. And yeah, it's one of those good presents which you might give to your relatives, friends, for the Father's Day, and not only. Happy Father's Day, and Extra, thank you so much for sponsoring this video. You really support the job that I do here. Yeah, guys, again, thank you for clicking those links, because that is how you support the job that I do here on my channel. Extra is really nice, so we cooperate sometimes. Now let's continue our review of the Middle East situation, and we're gonna switch to Ukraine later on, also in this video. And here we have like breaking news, I would call them like that, because Pete Hegseth, you know who is the guy, has ordered that preparations be made for United States to potentially join the ongoing operation by Israel against Iran, in case the green light is given by President Trump. Some of the United States military officials, including CENTCOM Commander General Michael Kurilla, support the involvement of the United States in Iranian war, I would call it, but there is still the opposition by the senior officials in the Trump's administration. So Donald Trump is not supporting involvement of United States in the war to help Israel, for example, to get the nuclear facilities deep underground using B-2 Spirit or B-52 or B-1 bombers, because only United States, they have these very deep diving bombs, which might help potentially to eliminate the threat from Iran completely. Now I would say it's the good time for United States to use its bombers, not the infantry forces, not troops, just bombers to do it. Simply because Israel almost fully eliminated the air defense of Iran. So bombers might fly easily over Iran. Iran, I would say, turned to Afghanistan if we speak about the air defense. Honestly, guys, even though United States military commanders mainly support this move, from what I understood, but Trump, I think he's Taka again, and he will not help his ally in Middle East. Well, Jerusalem Post says that Donald Trump expected to offer Iran the last chance proposal. United States and European sources tell to Jerusalem Post. Well, we'll see. So far, his proposals just were ignored by Iran. And yeah, we have the official statement from Secretary of Defense Hegseth. Definitely they deployed the additional capabilities to the United States Central Command area, Middle East. He mentions that deployments are intended to enhance our defense position in the region, not the offense for now. I think that without the strike on American base, United States will not be involved even in this confrontation or escalation. And by the way, yesterday there was the attempt of some of the drones to reach one of the American bases. I think it was in Baghdad, Iraq. However, drones were intercepted on the way. But it's kind of risky, I would say. I also heard the conspiracy theory that Israel may attack one of the American bases to involve their ally into this war. But this theory is just a theory, it has no ground behind. Yeah, some tiny little part of the logic, like if they're being attacked, they will fight for us, but no, it will not happen. Usually that stuff is coming from Tucker Carlson or even some of the leftists. Actually, you know, far left and far right, they support same ideas, especially if we speak about attitude towards Israel. Both leftists and rightists, they blame Israel, as well as Ukraine, by the way. Also, yesterday it was reported about the massive migration of the refueling airplanes from United States to Europe. I think they will take the place in military exercise. Also, there were, I think, surveillance airplanes, more than 20 actually left the United States for Europe. NBC News also reported that the United States of America is sending their more military force to the region. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean the involvement in this war. Kind of the interesting news from the Times of Israel: Iran said to seek ceasefire via Gulf states as Trump urges deal before it's too late. Now it's really hard to confirm of whether Khamenei is sending those signals via Gulf states to Donald Trump and to Israel. At the same time, I do not exclude this probability, and also there were the rumors for now it's hard to confirm that Khamenei is looking for his own personal security in Russia. They're looking through the option of the urgent evacuation of Ayatollah leader. So it could be the same scenario as with Bashar Assad, the ex-Syrian leader. Yeah, there is the high probability that Ayatollah regime will just collapse. Guys, today I don't want to say a lot about Donald Trump, however, he's still in the informational field, in the news, and after all, he is the United States president. He continued to produce some of the bullshit. Sometimes the level of this bullshit is extreme, sometimes not. Well, here he says that Iran should have signed the deal with the shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Yeah, I agree at least with this one, that everyone should evacuate Tehran because Israel has the full military advantage and air superiority. But Donald Trump in his statement doesn't say that he was the guy who cancelled the deal which was signed already by Iran, where they stated that Iran cannot have nuclear weapon. The deal was signed by Obama administration, Iran. There were mediators also from Russia. Exactly this miraculous deal which Donald Trump wanted to achieve, but he ruined it himself during his first term. And after that, Iran completely went out of rails. They start to finance their proxies more. They start those local conflicts elsewhere, and they renewed their nuclear program, all because of Donald Trump. The Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov says that Iran has the full right to defend itself. By the way, this is the kind of the old photo of him. He looks worse right now. It's understandable, smoking a lot, stressful job. Well, what Iran does, they send ballistic missiles randomly towards Israel. Here, by the way, is the picture taken by pilots of the aircraft which was flying in Dubai or in United Arab Emirates, is better to say, airspace. Just the flight was from Dubai, and here you can see the ballistic missiles. Ballistic missiles fly with ballistic trajectory, so they fly very high to the higher levels of the atmosphere and then coming down with a very high speed. While still Israel has the air defense, and allies also help sometimes, including United States of America. By the way, it was reported that they are involved in shutting down those missiles. However, it is very hard to intercept ballistic missiles, and they hit residential areas, just random freaking residential areas of Tel Aviv, Haifa, and many other towns and cities of Israel. Just a random civilian target. And yeah, sometimes those missiles, they cause devastation to civilian quarters. Likely most of the citizens of Israel, they go down to the shelter. For this reason, there are not so many losses as they could be, but still, unfortunately, we see the devastation to the populated areas. Exactly same picture is happening in Ukraine, because Russia uses the same tactics as Iran. Ukraine hits the Russian military infrastructure, but Russia terrorizes Ukrainians. Exactly the same stuff as Iran does in Israel. And yeah, some people told me, okay, Dennis, so Israel started this war. No, it was freaking Ayatollah regime. They financed Hamas movement, which attacked Israel on 7th of October 2023. They also hit Israel with their ballistic missiles before even the last year as the response on elimination of the Hamas leader. So Hamas and Iran, it is mostly the same. I mean, not Iran as the country is good, but their regime, their Ayatollah, those are the pure evil, and they were apt to get nuclear weaponry. So if I was like the leader of Israel, I would do the same, because it's the existential threat for your enemy to obtain nukes. And it was reported by many of the intelligence services, not just by Israel, but by European intelligence as well, that Iran was apt to get nuclear weapons. And also, they didn't want to negotiate with Trump's deal, so Trump tried, actually. Yeah, he cancelled the Obama deal. It was his big mistake, which actually led to this war, because back then Iran agreed on cancelling their nuclear program, but now they're still determined to get nukes, but I think they will not be successful. Now, freaking finally, Israeli police start not just to tell to journalists, but also confiscate their equipment and arrest in some of the cases, because journalists, they film how missiles get into the city of Tel Aviv. For example, there was the live video, and I also was on the stream monitoring how it was. So in a way, Iran may correct the trajectory of their future missile strikes. judging on where they see the location of Israeli air defense. So those journalists, I think they were detained for filming those kind of the videos. Yeah, for some of the broadcasts, they start to jam CCTV videos, even for YouTube, so we'll not get probably live camera videos from Tel Aviv, let's say. Yeah, strangely, but we still have it from Associated Press, for example. They publish it on their stream. Yeah, here they stream for hours and hours. Well, I think that it should be cancelled, honestly, for the safety reason. Bibi on his press conference stated that they may even strike the leader of Ayatollah Khamenei. You probably know that there was the information published yesterday, I reported about it as well, that Trump is against that. He wants to keep that dictator alive for whatever reason. Netanyahu also stated that there could be a collapse of Iranian regime very soon. Maybe, but for now no one may tell you for sure. But the chance for it is pretty much high, judging on the losses of Iranian military command, their nuclear specialists, some of the officials of Ayatollah, and their military. I mean, first of all, air defense, so Israel is free to operate elsewhere in Iran, which is craziest for me because Iran is much bigger country than Israel and it is located quite far away. It means that the Western-made equipment and Western-made organization of the army is the best out there. A new video has just been released by IDF. They show how they operate with their aviation in the western regions of Iran, but it is the most populated area of Iran with the capital city of Tehran. They say that the most nuclear facilities are out there. Air defense was hit. You may see so many strikes. They report about it. And for most of those, we definitely have the visual confirmation. It is not what was spread by Iranian propaganda yesterday, and there are lots of the memes about it. Can't believe Iran shut down this F-35. By the way, Iran officially stated that they've shut down already 4 of F-35s. Iran has shut down Zionist Torah. Confirmed. Yeah, we have the evidence. Yeah, so many memes about that stuff. There are many more satellite images published with military infrastructure being hit. This is the Kermanshah missile base in Iran, so there were some of the ballistic missiles deployed. Not any longer. Micro73 Analytic also confirms that situation is pretty much bad for Iran. All of those are confirmed strikes. Yeah, mostly in the western Iran. And some of the strikes we may even check out. For example, here we have the visual confirmation from OSINT Analytics. They're doing fantastic job out there, and here we have a Ukrainian map also from the Micro73, and I always review it because it gives the real data of what is happening out there on the front lines. And now let's go and review the situation in Ukraine. Yesterday I forgot to tell you somehow that there was one more exchange of the prisoners of war, kind of the big one, judging on the photos coming. The true number of the people exchanged will be published, I guess, in a couple of weeks. And you know, some people are commenting that there are many of the elderly people were exchanged, even though negotiation was to exchange wounded personnel and soldiers who are up to 25 years old. Well, in many of the cases, it's not that our guys are elderly, those are just terrible conditions in the Russian prisons. Russians are just bastards. This Ukrainian soldier was exchanged after spending 3 years in the Russian prison. It's like Buchenwalde, Oswiecim, one more Kiev Post reported about this before, after 3 years have passed, so it's totally inhumane attitude from Russians towards Ukrainian prisoners of war. Meanwhile, Russians who are coming from those exchanges are feeling perfectly fine. They look great as they spend the time in some sort of the summer camp. That's the big difference between Ukraine and Russia. And there is the massive attack happening on the capital city of Kiev just right now. Also, drones were spotted in Dnipro region, near Kremenchuk, in Zhytomyr Oblast, Chernigiv, but mostly the target is Kiev, as you may see. Russia launches more than 100 drones on Ukraine every night. Yesterday there were more than 200 drones. Crazy. There is the close-up picture of Kiev itself. This is Borispol. I used to live there. This is the biggest airport out there in Ukraine, in Borispol, Brovary. So drones are coming from this side and through Borispol, and also from the south. Plus, monitoring channels report about the launch of the cruise missiles from the Russian strategic aviation. Before, Russia used mostly Tupolev 95 for their strikes, but now they actively use Tupolev 160, more advanced strategic bomber. Why? Well, because they lost many of Tupolev 95s. Still, they use those, but way less compared to Tupolev 160 nowadays. Occasionally, Tu-22M3, Russia lost a great number of those airplanes, but Soviet Union produced many of those. Unfortunately, they are not in lack of those airplane types. But this and this are very critical for Russia, because those two are strategic bombers. This is, I would say, something between tactical and strategic because of its limited range compared to the bigger planes. And the other strikes on Kiev has already been confirmed. Unfortunately, some of the drones probably reached their targets, or they were shot down and hit random places in Kiev. Yeah, as usual, it's the residential place, some of the multi-story building with civilians. Alright guys, now about the military map which I showed you at the very beginning of the video. So Russians here, they took or retook Yablonivka. Before, Russians already put their flag there. Ukraine started a counterattack, successful one. Russians retreated and now they went on attack again, placing their flag to Yablonivka. This entire region is the Sumy Oblast of Ukraine. This is the border with Russia. It goes here and here. So yeah, this is the Kursk region, this is also Kursk region, and this is Sumy. Nevertheless, Ukraine has two of the counterattack vectors. Andriivka was liberated, as well as Nova Mykolaiivka. Here Ukraine tries to counterattack. Zelensky stated that Russian forces mainly were stopped in the Sumy region. Yeah, for this day I would partially agree on that, but still they have just a light movement. They wanted, after all, to take Yablonivka. What is also interesting, my friends, that just one armored vehicle was spotted from the Russian army during their offensive in Sumy. So they do not use any sort of the vehicles, just very light vehicles, motorcycles and all-terrain. ATVs like small buggies, well, you know. So there was one Emrab Ahmad vehicle which was spotted few days ago. It was kaboomed by Ukrainian FPV drone operators, but mainly the Russian tanks are made by feet only. They walk dozens of the kilometers, sometimes several days, just to be KIA in a mid-wave attack. What can I say? With this Russian tactics, Russia will have many more losses. Also, I would say that they will be not able to advance further without using tanks, BTRs or BMPs. I think that after all, Sumy operation is just out there to deflect the attention of Ukrainian armed forces, for Ukraine to deploy the forces probably taken from Donbass to conquer those Russian infantry waves. Nevertheless, I wouldn't say that the picture is great out there in Sumy region. No, Ukrainian commander, whose nickname is Officer in Telegram channel, writes that definitely Russians are like zombies causing us to leave positions, because you may annihilate couple of waves, but they continue to arrive with small groups, arrive. So unfortunately, Ukrainian army doesn't have that resource to withstand all of those infinite attacks, he says. But again, for perspective, he agrees that Russia will just stack at some point, maybe near to this forest close to Sumy. Well, if we move from Sumy region to the Kursk Oblast, Totkino, there Ukraine intensified the aerial strikes on Russian groups, which are still located in Totkino, 56th Regiment of the Russian Airborne Division or paratroopers. Yeah, there are some of the aviation strikes done on the Russian positions. Even with their infantry, Ukraine uses aviation. That's outstanding. Yeah, for the last couple of months, Ukraine is very active with Air Force indeed. But in general, Russians continue to be deployed in this area without any sort of the supplies coming, or they struggle with supplies because Ukraine is very close to this road, so supplies are being cut by Ukrainian FPV drone strikes. Russia cannot send new reinforcements, and in a nearby future, I expect Russians to leave Totkino. Also, we see that Ukraine crossed the Russian border here. It's kind of interesting, something really new. A reconnaissance strike group of 47th Mechanized Brigade. So it's the sabotage operation done by Ukrainian armed forces geolocated. Destroyed the Russian stronghold in Komsomolsky Tract. Nice. Right, now let's go to the eastern direction. Here Russia took some of the territories. They're very close to Zaporizhia village. It's not a city, it's a village, and Ukraine already used some of the artillery. It means that Russians are already out there. Also, a little to the south, you may see this region, Russia, capable to occupy. So Kamar was almost fully taken by Russia. Well, there is kind of funny situation with this Kamar village out there in the Russian propaganda. They report that they've took it a couple of weeks ago, but later on it became understandable that commander who reported about it, he just lied. And for him, unfortunately, this information went to the High Command General Staff, and they sent the other Russian forces to definitely take Kamar. But the forces deployed were not ready for this mission at all, and they had severe losses. So everyone blames that first commander, I think of the 48th Rifle Brigade, that he reported the wrong information. Nevertheless, with more reinforcements, Russians are finally successful in Kamar. However, they still need to go further to the nearby village. And I still think that some of those streets belong to Kamar itself. Guys, what's the scale of this war? We're speaking about the second army in the world that in a couple of days are unable to take the small village out there in the eastern Ukraine. And they're telling that Ukraine is totally losing front lines. Yeah. At the same time, Ukraine performs even counterattacks sometimes. But in general, it's kind of hard for Ukraine because Russia obviously has more of the tools, more resources, army men, military production, economy is bigger. Guys, without volunteers inside Ukraine, outside Ukraine, who really help Ukrainian army, for example, with the drones, Ukrainian defense would have collapsed a long time ago. Oh, that's crazy, guys. Zelensky stated that Russia proposed the exchange of the kidnapped children, Ukrainian children, which they forcibly took to Russia. They want to exchange those on Russian warriors. So, soldiers on kids, which they kidnapped. My friends, what the hell? It's like the pure evil regime out there in Russia. Their behavior towards Ukrainians is beyond understanding, actually. But Russia doesn't care even about their own children. They want to use those kids as their weapons. Putin ordered to hold an all-Russian championship in drone piloting for children from 7 years old. The program for the future drone operators is called Movement of the First. They say that it's like the technical education of youth, but in fact they just train the future drone operators from freaking 7 years old. Before they planned to start it from 10 years old, but Putin himself personally ordered to reduce the age down to 7 years old for more people or kids to be involved in that. And guys, Russia is the pure evil state and it should be disintegrated, reformed, otherwise they will attack more countries than Ukraine, it's 100%. Alright guys, and now please don't forget to check out the link for the extra wallets for their Father's Day proposal. The product is awesome and that is why I have the integration with them. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.